So Fire Force is definitely bringing the heat with summer 2019 anime. I was really looking forward to Fire Force. It sounded like such a fun premise, and walking out of episode 1 it absolutely was, but it also had a nice sprinkle of emotional to tie it all together. I think the idea for our main character, who basically this entire world just people can just combust and turn into like fire demons, and it's up to like special firefighters to take care of it and let them rest. We have a main character who is one of these like third generations who can basically use flames, and he can just be a total badass. And he's blamed for his mother and just family's deaths because when it all was said and done, he had flames on his feet, but he never had that happen. He never killed his parents. He's wanted nothing other than to be a hero. And the idea that he was so scarred that he just couldn't stop but doing this like menacing grin anytime he was upset or just he felt uncomfortable, that everyone viewed him as a villain for so long. I think that's such an interesting way to really make a character's growth very intriguing, because for all your life, not only are you being blamed for your mother's death, someone who you clearly loved and just respected and wanted to be a hero, anytime you're now just in like emotionally distraught, you're going to look like a villain. Like, that's such an interesting way to just penalize a character for trying to be a hero. And to see at the end of the episode someone actually thanking him for using his abilities, probably the first time in his entire life, it definitely was the first time, this was just great. Not only was it badass, just with how they animated the fire and the fights just being so just dynamic and just immersive, but just the emotional closure from beginning to end. I can tell, not only am I going to laugh with these characters, I'm also going to feel some things with these characters, and that has me excited for David Productions' adaptation of Fire Force. I think David Production brought their A game. When I first saw the trailer, it looked like a Studio Bones production, and they really brought this to life. Like, I just love the overall look to this. It feels hot when you're looking at the flames, just the way the flames will go everywhere, and then you'll see these demons just come at you. It feels as if, holy shit, you will get burned if you touch these, which sometimes anime fire I'm not a huge fan of. I just feel like either it's too just stock footage or it just feels so wonky that I just don't care. Here, I was like, holy shit, this is bringing the heat and you don't want to touch these. And I love how just the firefighters, they're not just like a gimmick. They actually do fight. It's just so interesting seeing how you'll have like a nun just doing this prayer to basically let them rest in peace because these were people at one point in time. And then you'll see how the different firefighters, depending on their skill set and just tools, they'll come in and they look like firefighters, but they have this like shonen level to them that just makes them become total badass that are fighting crime and just taking names. It was so fun just watching Shinra, our main character, kind of explore his new life because he's going to be on this kind of firefighter team, this fire force, and it's interesting how his personality immediately, I wasn't sure what to feel about him because he does have this like ominous grin. It just felt as if, was he a villain? Like, is he a bad guy? And to see where his character went, especially learning with his backstory and why he does grin the way he does, it is pretty tragic, but even in the middle of so much tragedy, they still managed to have a lot of fun. Even though we didn't get too much information with most of these characters past Shinra, we did at least get to know their names, we did at least get to see some of their skill set, and it feels as if this will be a very fun group of characters to follow, because not everyone's going to get along, not everyone's going to like just the new guy in the group, but it feels as if just the way they banter, the way they just talk with one another, goof off, or even maybe kind of poke jabs at, it feels as if this will be a very interesting, close group of friends that are going to have to put their lives on the line, they're going to have to risk it all, and sometimes they're going to get hurt, but most importantly, when someone does get knocked out, they will be there to pick them back up, and they don't move forward unless they all do. It's very just interesting. I think the whole idea that we're having so many new shonens come out, just kind of breaking away from the typical standard that you're used to, and doing something interesting. Saying, hey, we're gonna have firefighters fight like fire demons. Yeah, that's cool on the surface level, but like what makes it so different from everything else? And with what we've seen in episode 1, not only does our main character feel really different from a lot of protagonists in series such as these, especially with just a horrible backstory and just how heroic he wants to be, but feels as if maybe he can't because he's been called a devil his entire life, but seeing how just the individual fighters in Fire Force are kind of operating and how you have this whole like religion part of it, so like they can pass on and not die as demons, and how they don't want to drag out a fight. They want to take out these like fire beasts in one shot because it was a person at one point in time. I think there's a lot of respect to what they're doing, and it's not just them punching the demon real hard and calling it a day. There's actually a level of respect and care, and they have a kind of order of operations they have to follow, and that's what made this first episode so fun to me, because they all had their duties, they all had their plans, and they had to do it on the first try because you don't want to make them suffer because they don't really know why this is happening, but they know how they start off, and you don't want a human to suffer like that. It's quite fun and different that in a season when we got Dr. Stone, we got Fire Force, they're both doing something completely different with a style, and for an action anime that I thought, even if I was having fun with it with just like the visual spectacle, because based on the preview it looked solid, I was curious, would I care about the characters, which is, in my opinion, the most important part. Like, most importantly, get your characters right. The second part, get your kind of world mechanics right. World mechanics are absolutely top notch, but would I care about the characters? And even though we didn't get too much information for a lot of these characters, just the overall chemistry, the banter, it felt fun and solid, and I could see the potential of really good growth throughout this story, especially with the tasks they will be forced to fight. But most importantly, they nailed the landing for its central character, and they nailed the landing so well, I don't even want to compare him to other anime characters, which is a really solid praise to come out in your first episode of just what easily could have been another shonen of the season, but actually, holy shit, probably will be one of the best anime of this year. This was fun. The opening, easily my favorite opening of the season right now. I just love it, had me jamming along. The ending song was great too. But the voice actors, they really brought their A game. I really love just Shinra's he doesn't feel like he's either a protagonist or an antagonist. Like, he just immediately strikes you as someone, like, even if you remove his visuals and just the grin, he feels as if he could play either part. And I like how when he needs to feel sad or he needs to feel heroic, I think his voice actor did a solid job. I really enjoyed the Japanese acting across the board here. They all sound fun. Of course, there's some typical kind of shonen fan service that you kind of expect in today's age, but nothing was distracting or jarring about this episode. It felt really well put together, which I'm not surprised by because the production schedule and just structure for this production here, it has a really good schedule going for it. So as long as like they can keep on that schedule, I don't think we'll see many dips with Fire Force. I think it'll be a pretty consistent 2-core overall, and with JoJo finally ending, I don't think they're gonna have to spread the resources too thin across this season of anime. This brought the heat, and I was just, holy shit, I am so happy, because I had a lot of high expectations for this show. I really thought this could become one of my favorites of the season, and sometimes I don't like going into an anime with that expectation that, okay, this is going to be one of my favorite, because even if it does something fine, I'm putting too much expectations on something I know little about. But I'm so happy to walk out feeling even more excited than I did walking into Fire Force. I am quite happy that they did decide to actually add in some sort of overarching, like, personal objective for a main character, like, hey, my parents died and I wasn't the one responsible. There was something that's not natural. I want to hunt this down, while also just wanting to be a hero for the people, help them, make sure that whatever happened to him doesn't happen to another person. I am glad that there will be like this sort of episodic and just like story of the week or story of the arc, but we do have a personal motivation for our main character. Whether he reaches that resolution by the time this anime adaptation does wrap up or not will remain to be seen, but it does add a little bit more to his character than a lot of stories with similar settings do, where they're just like, hey, this is what they're going to do, and then we're just going to kind of brush that off and then focus on the objective at hand. I am glad that he does have a main drive that seems to be very important to him, as it kind of did ruin his life and paint him as the devil for his entire family and pretty much the world to see. You're noticing this a lot with studios breaking away from what they're typically known for. And I remember when David Production first started breaking away from just doing JoJo, there was a lot of JoJo fans upset, but I've been really just fond of where David Production as a studio, and so many studios are going, not doing the same old thing from PA Works to David Production. They're doing things differently, both on a visual level, not feeling like their traditional art style, but also just with the direction and things they're adapting. It feels as if studios are kind of taking more risks, at least for some of them, because a lot of times a studio, if they get something right, they kind of just focus in on that and try to continue to adapt similar series. And I'm glad we can have things like Cells at Work, we can have Fire Force, we can have JoJo, hell, we can have Sakuragi Reset. I just like how studios, especially David Production, not only does this look like something I thought would be a Studio Bones adaptation, I'm glad David Production did this, because I think David Production, this is their jam in terms of structure for comedy, serious, dramatic, and just the fact that they really shifted up their art style and really brought together what I've seen from manga panels to life in a pretty beautiful way. I'm really happy that anime, it feels pretty solid right now. There's a lot of BS, like I've said, but just seeing the series that we're getting this season, seeing the series that we already received this year and will have in the fall, I'm just happy that these studios, they're going on a pretty solid path more often than not, at least for the stuff that I've been watching recently. And yeah, Fire Force, I think probably between Fire Force and Dr. Stone, probably had my favorite first episodes of the season so far. Probably a bit of a tie right now, but they're both pretty damn solid. Holy shit, I'm just grinning ear to ear, similar to Shinra in this episode. What did everyone think though? For anime originals who had no idea what the show is going to be, how did you enjoy it? For manga readers, how do you enjoy the adaptation and just the visual presentation? Did it live up to your expectations? Let me know down in that comment section below. If you did enjoy, be sure to drop a like and also hit that subscribe button if you have been new. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.